Welcome into the Kings Beat podcast. I am James Ham, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. We are, of course, the Blue Wire podcast brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Joining me today, Fox 40's Sean Cunningham. Sean, how are you?
Fantastic. The weather's great. We got the Final Four upon us, and I just woke up from a brilliant nap. So apologize to you two who waited for me a little bit. I have only excuse that I was splashing water on my face because I was napping.
Yeah, we're gonna start a pre-show called "Waiting for Sean."
Waiting for Cunningham. Yep.
Yeah, there it is.
Sorry,
all right, we are of course joined by Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast. Brenden, how are you?
I'm doing great. Fellas. I feel like I got the whole day in front of me. I got nothing on my plate today, and I'm loving it. I'm doing well.
Nice.
Let's go watch the games then.
Let's do it. I was going to ask you, Sean. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming you have a plan.
No, I don't have much of a plan. I fly by the seat of my pants, so
sounds
it's
about right. That is a plan.
Yep.
So,
did you not make your bed? Is that your bed behind you?
I
that
didn't.
You have
I
not
didn't.
Made?
I told James if they can't beat the Wizards, I'm not making my bed. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
We got dirty clothes strewn about. What's going on?
The clothes actually right on the other side of that bed. You can't quite tell. I pushed it down. Not gonna lie, a huge pile of clean clothes. I'm really
Mount
bad
Nunes.
about. Yeah, that's probably the chore that I procrastinate the most. Is I will get through the whole process. The clothes will be clean, and then they'll sit there for way longer than they should. So if I'm ever wrinkled, excuse me.
Brendan's like, I'm a grown-ass man. No, he's not. I like a retaliatory not making the bed because the Kings lost to the Wizards.
Yeah, bold strategy. Interesting game plan. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of unmade beds in Sacramento, if that's the case. A lot of unmade beds.
That'll show them.
Yeah, that will show them. What's going on, everybody? What do you guys got for podcast candles?
Ooh.
Oh,
I do. Even though, it is nice and warm outside. I like it, but I'm still going to roll with the candle.
Does that mean that, we don't do candles when it's warm outside?
Some people don't, but I do. Because I'm
at
not
the
most
very
people.
end.
Warm and welcome again.
I'm at the end of my cactus blossom. We're both.
You guys need to switch. You guys need to switch.
Yeah. I don't know if it's Trump's tariffs or not. No political thing. God. But these things are getting pricey again. Jesus Christ.
Well, clearance candles.
Clearance candles.
We got one wick that's still running here. So
light them all.
Sweet.
It's a half-ass candle.
We do not talk politics here. So that was just a veiled shot by Sean
whatever
Cunningham.
Side of the aisle you're on, prices are kind of going up a bit here, and I think it might be the candles here.
There it is. The candles are going up in price. We got a lot to talk about. It's been one of those up and down weeks that typically happen late in seasons. Just not when you think that the team, not when the team comes into the season with 45-50 win, sort of expectations. But we just saw a series, a win and a loss. The loss is going to stand out way more than the win at this point. Where are you guys at with this team after watching them drop a game to the Washington Wizards on, Wednesday? And that game very specifically for real reasons, the Wizards didn't even play Jordan Poole and Alex Sarr down the stretch. They wanted to lose that game, and the Kings, who needed that victory very badly, weren't able to come out with a win. Just where are you guys at? Let's just start there, because I think the fan base has been on edge all week after that.
I'm not going to be the most comforting right now, I will say, for the fan base. I mean, I thought that was super embarrassing. The way that, like you mentioned, Washington pulled their best players who aren't even that great in the first place, says something about their talent level. They're decent players, no disrespect meant in that direction. But JT Thor specifically being the one to ice the game. He's made 5 threes all season. That's his 5th three. That was his only points of the entire game. I think it's very representative of Washington had guys out there where, again, they're trying to lose. They had the worst record in the league at the time. I believe it's 16 wins going into that. And you managed to blow that game from the perspective of a team where you need every game right now. And not many opportunities where you're going to face a team that doesn't want to win that game. So you have to take those ones. And Sure, ultimately it doesn't absolutely screw them when it comes to where they are at in the standings right now. They're half a game behind 9, which obviously you'd rather be in that 9 spot and be in better position if you take care of business in those ones. But 2 games above Phoenix and 11, who they're struggling definitely themselves, haven't lost 5 in a row. So ultimately doesn't screw you when it comes to the standings. But I just thought it was a super poor showing that is honestly more representative of this team than I think people would love to hear. They lack an identity right now. I feel like specifically, we've mentioned before, this team should be great offensively, and that is not being the case. I feel like there's a lot of taking turns of, you'll have a quarter where somebody goes crazy and it's like, all right, let's just feed that person for this quarter. And then after that slows down, what are we doing? I feel like pace is a big part of when they do look good offensively, but you have to, a big part of that, not the sole factor, but a big part of that is getting stops. And obviously they're not a very good defensive team. So I just kind of struggle to see what the identity of this team is right now and what you can rely on them to do on a nightly basis.
Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly excuses out there, but none
Are
of them
there?
are going to matter. Yeah, I mean, look, of course there is. No training camp, putting a reset button in the middle of the season, fired coach, franchise player. None of that's going to matter. Like, none of it will matter. Once they knew they were, abandoning ship with the 2 moves, especially was firing Mike Brown and trading De'Aaron Fox. I think everyone knew that this was whatever expectations that you mentioned, James, even before the season started, they should have flown out the window at that point. This team looks like they have, found magic at times, trying to collectively make things happen, but can you sustain it? Is it sustainable? I think the answer we've come to find is absolutely not. And not only is it sustainable, not only is it not sustainable, I don't think the interest is there either. I mean, I think apathy has kind of not only washed over these players, but the fan base as well. I think really anything that you are hoping or holding on to, like, certainly, if you root for your team, root for your team. If you're looking to go into, however, whatever direction you're hoping this team goes, like, that's fine, because the fact of the matter is there's going to be some drastic changes on the horizon. And, you kind of feel for some of these players. What I think is the most disappointing is the fact that if you just go back to me, it started with the Orlando game. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was the worst loss of the season. I thought, especially coming off of the homestand and what that kind of triggered in terms of this, this long stretch ahead and kind of what, what's on the horizon in terms of closing out the season in the right way. They didn't have any sort of give a damn about them. And I know I've used that phrase a lot since the trade deadline, but it was just completely disappointing. And yeah, that rolls. If you think you think it couldn't get worse than that, yeah, it just rolls into the Washington game, which, as Brenden mentioned, the Wizards players on the floor certainly had a desire and a hunger to win that game. But outside of that, the coaching staff, the GM, the front office, I think even the fans in the stands that were wearing Wizards jerseys were like, don't win this game. What's wrong with you? And all it took was the Sacramento Kings to allow them to do that. And I think the Kings really, they felt like this team is so bad, they'll just flip a switch and okay, we'll take care of business in the fourth quarter. And you could see the effort being there for the most part in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't good enough. And I'm kind of, selfishly, I'm glad it bit him in the ass. Even as a media member, I was kind of disgusted. I didn't want to hear anything from any player, coach after that game. And you did wonder how they would rebound. And I thought they rebounded decently the next game. I think, obviously, you've got the Hornets as two among the 2 worst teams in the league. They took care of business. You're right, James. They don't really get credit for that. But sometimes you have to find yourself a little bit. And I think that, just from talking about some of the positives there, I thought that was a game, could have been a get-right game for some of these guys. Obviously, Sabonis dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury still, but I thought he put together probably his finest performance in really probably a month. And, Malik Monk, who's coming off of a sickness, he kind of talked about it in the game after that Charlotte game. He kind of found himself a little bit. He's still kind of battling with some things. So whatever it takes. And now you've got 5 games left. 3 of them are on your home floor, and they're all going to have magnitude about them. But it seems like you've pretty much secured your position in the play-in tournament. How will they respond? I don't expect much more than what we've seen over recent games. But yeah, I mean, some just troubling, frustrating, but also rather apathetic times with the Sacramento Kings group.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem is I agree with both of you guys, that this is what it is. That when the firing happened, the writing was on the wall that this season was lost. When the trade happened with De'Aaron Fox leaving, that sort of cemented the path. The problem is that I think we all know that that's not what people inside believed, that their path was cemented when they made the Mike Brown move, and certainly when they traded De'Aaron Fox and brought back Zach LaVine. The idea there was to not tank, was to not be a bad team, was to try to hold on to who and what you are, and try to push forward with a new group with a 30-year-old, scorer. And so it's for me, that's the most disappointing thing. It's that not only is your execution down the stretch just horrific. Like, this is just an embarrassment to lose to the Washington Wizards flat out. Like, show some pride. Like, seriously. I haven't seen this team in this situation where you're actually playing for something just lay down against a horrible team. And I think it should be noted, like what Sean said, that like the players who are on the court, they want to play. They want to win. And that's as far as Washington. Like, so you can keep taking guys off the court who are playing too hard, who are hitting shots, and eventually get to a group that you think aren't going to win the game, but that doesn't mean that the guys out there aren't going to keep playing hard, which is why you get what was it, Vukcevic, or it's why you get TJ Thor, like having big moments in a game. I'm with you too, Brendan. Like, watching Thor hit that shot, that it's just the entire King season in a nutshell. It's like somebody who shouldn't even be on the court, who I think was a G League call up that day. And you said 5 threes. I thought it was 2. Maybe he has 5 combined with his G League stint.
Maybe.
But
I got the 5 number from somebody else, admittedly.
okay,
It's a low number.
Either
Copied someone's
way,
homework. I see what you did.
All right.
you're just like, what in the world just happened? How did you allow that to happen? And it started in the beginning of the game. It carries on through the whole game. But again, my biggest concern isn't even so much the Washington game. That's who they are. They're a team that can win or lose on any given night, and there's no one that should expect. You should never bet on this team. Bet for them or bet against them. That would just be crazy talk. But for me, I think it's the path that was chosen at mid-season that set in motion not only for this to be a disappointing finish to this season, but also a disappointing, like, summer leading into summer, a disappointing position that your franchise is in moving forward. And I think that's one of the bigger concerns. So I do think, the bounce back game, they played well against Charlotte. You expect Malik Monk to play well in Charlotte. He spent the first 4 years of his career there. Like, again, as much as I want to give him credit for that, it's like that's another 16 win team. If you can't beat I think more specifically, not only a 16 win team, what are they, a 60 loss team? So, like, if you can't gear up and try to win a game against a 60 loss team with 6 games left in the season, then who are you and why are you even on the court? Like, I would rather watch Mason Jones, who put up 47 points for the G League squad, out there fighting and fighting tooth and nail, if that's where we're at in this season.
I
And
think
go ahead.
I think that's what's part of the tough, what makes a tough viewing experience for Kings fans is that typically this time of year and in years past, it's like, oh, now you can really focus on like, hey, I want to see more of Frank Mason right now. I want more Daquan Jeffries, whatever it may be. And you can focus on those internal growth things. And right now it's, you're still trying to win games and it's a struggle to. But to your point, the guys that are out there for Washington, for Charlotte, those guys are actually probably trying harder than most at this point in the year because they are trying to prove something. They're trying to make their way on an NBA roster. And I can think back to a conversation over here and some of the players in the locker room earlier this year, talking about a game that had nothing to do with them, just a different one in the league where a team that was not very healthy, I want to say it was Dallas or something, that beat a team that they're not supposed to. And they were having a conversation about like, well, you go into those a little too comfortable. And then by the time you realize that, hey, we got to kick this into gear, it's too late. And that's kind of what it felt like happened in Washington. Cruised a little bit too much. I thought AJ Johnson, by the way, definitely caught my attention. Somebody that's interesting.
Relax.
But like being able to have those moments, I think, is a lot more enjoyable viewing time, where also you lack the expectations, obviously, and you get to be like, hey, AJ Johnson's interesting for next year. And then you can really lock into this Final Four game today, you know? And so I think it just makes for a tough viewing experience for the fan base over these last 10 games.
Yeah, and I think the disappointing thing there is like, while you're, you know, as James called him, TJ Thor, but it's JT Thor.
JT Thor.
That's how little of a respect. Hey, you know what? I don't
Yeah.
even think half the Sacramento Kings knew the hell who he was, let alone his name. So
He has the greatest name of all time.
yeah, if you go out there with Thor on the back of your jersey, that's
Right.
pretty rad. I mean, I think what I was getting to there was like, yeah, those evaluations of some of those younger players. The tough part is you're having to make those evaluations about guys like Zach LaVine, guys like DeMar DeRozan, guys like Domantas Sabonis, and more so probably guys like Doug Christie. And that's really, I think, the frustrating part right now, is that because you don't have a team, you don't have a true point guard, you have so many holes. And again, there are those excuses, but to that point, like, no one's going to give a damn. And these guys, I don't think realize that. I think what's lost on it is like, there is a weight that comes with the season. The magnitude of everything has just kind of mounted up, and you almost need that pressure release. And that pressure release would be if you were able to just do anything in the postseason. And if you're not, then that's fine. Then the press release is literally getting to the offseason. And I know people look at the offseason and go, okay, well, what about this? What about this draft pick and everything that's conveyed to Atlanta? Like, honestly, you should hope that draft pick gets conveyed to Atlanta, in my opinion. Like, it's just, things right now are such at a I don't even know how to quite explain it, but I think whether this front office stays intact, whether you have additions to it, whether you have a completely different one, I mean, the evaluation is really on the organization itself. And getting to the offseason, I think it's good. There's going to be a lot of tough things that come out of this offseason. I think you're going to see a lot of movement. I think you're going to see a lot of storylines, but more than anything, I think just getting there first and foremost to begin that process will be a good thing. And if the one thing you're holding on to is holding on to that draft pick, I just think it's kind of foolish. Just move beyond that. Like, their problems are so much bigger than any 13th pick or higher. It's just, you're pissing in the wind, right? I mean, this thing is just not good. So
I would
rip
agree.
the Band-Aid off.
I have come around to thinking I would rather them keep the pick. But to the point of your evaluation question, I think the complicated aspect here is that you're evaluating these guys in poor circumstances. I don't think any of us think that any player on this team is playing to the best of their ability, or like being ideally optimized. You're getting the most out of them, and you have to evaluate them in those circumstances and try to imagine what it would look like in more ideal ones and how to create that. So like, yeah, you're trying to evaluate these guys in settings that aren't even conducive to their abilities.
No, I'm with you 100%. No one is being maximized. I mean, I think the one player who has, like, since coming back from injury, like Domantas Sabonis has played really well. He's just grinding like he has like all season long. But for me, again, the pick it's kind of a weird one, because like the way it works out is if they fall out of the play-in, then likely they're going to keep the pick, right? So, but there's actually a possibility that they could actually move up to like number 10 in the draft lottery. And people should also know that, like, if they finish in the play-in and they're the 13th pick, the lottery has to happen. And once the lottery happens, if you lost your pick or not. There is like a small percentage chance that the Kings, as the 13th pick, could actually move up into the top 4. And if they move up into the top 4, they keep their pick, just so people understand the dynamics of it. Like the odds are pretty slim.
13th right now, 4 points.
The Brennan freeze.
Brenden was about to say some profound shit, and it's not coming to him at the moment. He decided to freeze. So what happens?
He did freeze.
My point is just like, is the 13th pick really going to make you sleep better at night, knowing about the direction of your franchise? No, it's not. Like, I guess if you have something to get excited about, sure, go for it. But that shouldn't be. You were going to say something, Brenden, about the 13?
Yeah, and all my browsers reset. I was just saying 4.8% chance at top 4 with their current seeding.
Let's deal with reality. That's like a greater chance than they have of, or they probably have a greater chance of getting into the postseason and winning a championship than they do at jumping into the top 4.
Okay, but watch this. What is the 10th pick? The number 10 spot in the draft?
10.3%. 10th and 11th are both 10.3%.
That's not that bad.
And I mean,
No, it's
I will
pretty
say,
bad.
if they manage to keep the
Talking
pick this
about?
year, I don't think like that they should, to the point where they should just impact how they're playing games currently based on this or anything. But if they did keep the pick this year, there's a real chance that they're top 10 next year, to be honest. It is a possibility. And then, like, isn't the best world that they just never give up a first round pick?
Yeah, well,
No, I don't think that's the best world at
Well,
all.
because they would suck, I guess, in that scenario, right?
yeah, and I'd also tell you too, like the way that it works out, just stick with me here for a sec. If they give away the pick, so basically if the pick carries over to next season, right? And they keep the pick next year, then they give up their 2026 and 2027 seconds. If they lose their pick this year, they instantly get back their access to their 26 pick, but also their 26 and 27 second round picks as well, which those have value. We've seen, I mean, again, the reason why the Kings couldn't make moves this season to get Valanciunas before they got him, because they didn't have 2 second round picks to go give up for Valanciunas, or to go get Jake LaRavia, because they didn't have they didn't have a second round pick to go give up to go get Jake LaRavia.
But if you
So
had this year's pick, you could also trade it at the draft, right?
And they still ended up with both those players.
yeah, well, but it cost them their best player to do that, Sean.
Is what it is.
Yeah. So I mean, it's complicated. It's complicated.
That wasn't, but yeah, that wasn't for just people who don't get the sarcasm. It cost them their best player, but that wasn't the reality of doing that. They had made a decision to move on from that said best player.
Well, yeah, but if you had your second round picks, you could have made
Right.
those moves in December and not, and
Could have
possibly
also acquired other
avoided
second round picks.
Avoided losing your head coach, avoided losing your best player. Just
I think there definitely was a
Devil's
thought that it's
advocate.
easier to do these smaller moves after we trade Aaron.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but my point was that, like, again, I personally think that if they give up their 2025 pick, I mean, next year looks sketchy either way. Like, we have no idea, right? So if they give up their 2025, the one good thing is that you walk out on July 1st of this year. You now have your 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 first round picks. You have an extra in 27 and an extra in 31. And on top of that, you get your 26 and 27 second round picks back. You also have, I think they're 28 and they're 32. So you'd have like 4 or 5 second round picks and 9 first round picks. And so if you're going to do anything this summer, it's going to be with the future capital, not this year. And that's going to be, it might be difficult, but you know, the way trades work are, there's always going to be trades on draft night, right? For teams to either get out of the draft or move up in the draft or whatever. There's a lot of trades that happen then, but then there's also a bunch of trades that happen like the second day of free agency, where stuff starts to move, just like the DeMar DeRozan trade that happened last year during the California Classic. So before we go further, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. I have been playing Underdog all season long. I know Brendan's been playing Underdog there, of course, the sponsor of the show. I'm having a good time. And not only that, but I think adding baseball to it is really awesome. Baseball is, for me, it's way easier. I don't know. You can do things like whether a pitcher will give up a first inning run. You can go over.
Take that for the A's.
Yeah. Well, take less. Well, let's see. They'll do more than 0.5 of a run in the first inning, it seems like, right?
Yes.
But you can also do things like you'll have Brent Rooker, whether it's 1.5 with hits, runs, and RBI. And so you have all kinds of ways to like jump on board and just have a good time, mix and match, whether it's different teams or different sports, all kinds of good stuff. So if you're interested in Underdog, jump on board, download the Underdog app, use the password KingsBeat, which is all one word, KINGSBEAT. And that will get you up to $1,000 in bonus credit and a free pick. And so, hey, I've been doing it. It's a good time. If you feel like it's not for you, it's not for you. But at the same time, I think so many people are doing the daily fantasy sports right now that it just adds excitement. So you must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
I will say I'm a big fan of taking the higher, because then you can just always bank on added
More.
extra innings, overtime, whatever it may be. Did either of you guys see the Giants game yesterday? That was absolutely ridiculous.
No, I missed it.
How many innings, Sean? Did we get to 13?
11? Or
11?
Something like that.
11, 12?
I don't know.
I think it was
The
11.
A's went
actually.
extra
I think
too.
you're right.
The A's went extra.
I did miss the A's yesterday, but I was locked into this Giants game. And Willie Adames walk-off in his first home game. Pretty great. Pretty great. Sean, what do we think of Tyler Fitzgerald running through the stop sign?
I'm fine with it.
Fast as hell. Let him do it.
Yeah, he knew. I mean, might as well. He's like, let's go home early. Let's get this shit over with. He has stuff to do, right?
I love it.
No, it's fine. 6-1 start by the Giants. Love that.
And third in the division somehow.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
It is what it is. No more baseball talk. My goodness.
Yeah. No more baseball talk. Actually, you know what? I want to pull this up from securing to 12th pick. Kings should not be making any trades with their future picks. Do you guys agree with that? Because I think that's going to be one of the more difficult decisions this summer. Like, what do you do as a franchise? How do you get better? How do you move forward? And to be honest with you, they don't have a lot of assets outside of draft picks to do that. And it's always scary to trade draft picks because you never know what those are going to be, especially like unprotected picks, which is why I think it's pretty crazy that they have San Antonio's 2027 and was it Minnesota's 2031 unprotected. But like, that's the way forward, right? It has to be the path forward.
With respect to the person that commented, I mean, to make a blanket statement like that is just preposterous because you're trying to go forward. It is. It's just stupid. Sorry, guys. I mean, I say that with respect. It's just like
with all due respect. I say that with respect.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
With all due respect. Securing the 12th pick, dumbass.
Crazy.
No, I mean, like, look, they chose not.
Don't feel bad. Sean talks to his friends like this too.
I do. It's warm and welcome, as my candle says. No, it's
cold and prickly. See, that's what I'm talking about. Cold and prickly.
It's just a dose of reality. The reality is they've chose not to hit the reset button. And anybody that's going to come into this situation, and I'm talking about from a front office standpoint, whether they continue the same path or bring in a different one, the mindset is going to be to compete. And those are going to be the biggest assets you have. And again, the landscape changes in the NBA very, very quickly, as we've seen. So to say that, those are off limits, like that I'm sorry, that doesn't deal with reality. So
I think to say that if you are considering like in a vacuum that you want them to reset, right, then it makes sense, but that's just not happening with this team. They are going to whatever. If
that's
they're gonna triple down
sayings.
I don't even know what that means. Like
what?
In like a space, in like a space,
in the vacuum,
like an air vacuum. I don't even like what
in a microwave.
In a controlled environment, right?
Okay,
I think is the idea.
Seems here. Very uncontrolled.
It is very uncontrolled. That's why I'm saying that is not the world that we are living in. So if you wanted them to reset, then sure, I get that logic, but I don't think that's the way this is heading. I think they're gonna triple down, and I actually think back to like the Lauri Markkanen conversation last offseason, I believe it was, and they're competing with the Warriors for an offer and some other teams. And I remember hearing at the time that it was viewed that the Warriors' future firsts were probably viewed as more valuable than the Kings' future firsts. And the way that this year has played out,
not anymore,
So while I see the value and there's a reason those are valuable and they may be good, it also increases, with a potential return if you're willing to include those.
Securing the 12th pick. We're just messing with you. But I think there's something that Brenden said there that has to be drawn out. And it's that it doesn't matter how many people out there want this thing to reset and for the Kings to go like full OKC, Philadelphia tank mode and start over. They're not going to. They would
have already done it. The
Yeah,
De'Aaron trade was the time to do it if you were going to.
Yeah, exactly. And like, look, I think there is something funny that's happened here. Like Vivek basically handed John Fisher a baseball stadium to go run the A's, and now all of a sudden you have competition for your like entertainment dollar in Sacramento, and at least for the next 3 years, like the next 3 years, like the Kings can't just cash it in and say, "Oh, we're just going to be horrible. It's okay. The A's are here." So again, I think that that's one of those things where like there is competition, straight up competition for your entertainment dollars here in Sacramento all of a sudden, and it's only going to get more complicated when a brand new soccer stadium goes in downtown, and the prices for that go up over what you're paying right now, and so I think it's a really interesting thing, but whoever's taking over this team, like they've got to be aggressive and try to rebuild this thing on the fly, because that's going to be the directive. I know there are so many fans out there that want just a total teardown, but you're not living in that reality. And that's where I try to at least promote that, like, look, if we're going to have honest discussions with everybody here on the podcast, we're going to live in a world that is actually true, and to what could possibly happen. And I just don't see a world in which Vivek Ranadive says, "Hey, it's okay for us with the second or third highest ticket prices in the NBA to be bad for the next 3 years. We're okay with that."
I'd like to hear from a season ticket holder that says, "Yeah, go please tear it down, and I'm going to renew. I will renew for my next 3 years if you tear it down right now." Like, no.
Well, it's fine for one person to say that. You need
Right.
8,000
Yeah,
season ticket holders to like say, "Hey, we're all of us collectively, we signed a petition. We're giving you permission to go ahead and tear the thing down."
Also,
and
you also
yeah.
wouldn't even get 30% of your season ticket holders to say that.
What if there was like a fast-tracked rebuild attempted to where you're moving these players for like not future picks, but like at the draft, you trade Domas for the 8th pick?
Brenden seems to have a crystal ball.
I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Like, isn't that kind of fast tracking it? Where like, hey, we have the guy that is our next one up here now. I don't think it would happen.
Let me answer it this way. Like, for anybody who thinks that like a full rebuild is the answer, I will say at least that's not the way they're going. But this might give you a glimmer of hope. If things go a certain way, like this thing, you could be closer to that in a year or two than they might be willing to admit, And I think you just look at really, and I've kind of referenced this before, like you have a lot of tradable pieces. You have guys that are under contract, 1 through whatever, for the most part, and that's kind of a nice thing to be able to rebuild upon if you have a true off season and draft and all those kind of things. By kind of hitting this semi reset button with just a collection of talent, now how do you make the most of that? It's going to take probably more than an off season to do. But hear me out, 2 years from now, if it goes a certain way where it's just awful, moving off of so many of those contracts at that point becomes so much more easier for you to actually hit that reset button than currently situated. So
I think you're looking at 1 year. Yeah, I think you're looking at 1 year where they're pretty dedicated to what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Now, again, that could like whether DeRozan's there or not, I don't know.
No, and even if he's not, I think even if he's not, and I think most people would probably say he won't be, but even if he's not, like remove him, the way your contracts are lining up, it makes it easier to do that in the future if things go a certain way. So it's almost like your safety net, maybe. If in the event, like and see, just Brendan's shaking his head, and I know what you're going to say.
Shitty safety net.
It is, but you have the ability to see this through, I think, is my point, and to give it the old like, hey, what can be pieced together to be able to fully give it a, not a total tank job or a reset, but to maximize what you do have since you have traded your top player.
But aren't you sacrificing some of the safety net in the process of trying to do that? Because you'd have to
not necessarily because in my opinion, and it's always been that opinion, you can always, the safety net you're talking about is your stockpile of draft picks.
Right.
You can always get those back. You can always get draft picks you don't have any draft picks until you do. Like, look at Phoenix. Okay, Phoenix doesn't like, they're obviously a shitty organization right now. They're heading in the wrong way, even though they've got a lot of big contracts there, and everyone wants to talk about that they've traded off all these pieces. Yes, but if you traded Devin Booker, guess what? You're going to have a lot of picks back, right?
Yeah.
So only, it's not a problem until it becomes. It's like,
but as
it's
long
never
as you have a Devin Booker, like,
right? Well, you're never not going to have a true. You know what I mean? Like
what's the one right now? Domas?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Well,
I hate to tell you,
maybe
that,
Keegan
like,
Murray.
has Devin Booker
Yes,
made an All
Keegan.
NBA team? And I know All NBA doesn't mean everything, but like I think there's still, like, there are plenty of teams that would take Domas and give up multiple first round picks for Domas. Like, it's
he's
not
probably
every
one.
team in the league.
I don't know. I think it's one you can point out that has a big, halo around it, and that's Oklahoma City, because they have a stockpile of picks. And he also fits really, really well there for what they're doing.
I heard about OKC last offseason, but I figured that when Hartenstein got there, that probably
Wouldn't you rather have Domantas Sabonis?
And
I mean,
Hartenstein's
yeah,
on a short-term
would.
deal,
Right.
and I'd rather have Hartenstein off the bench too.
Fair
Like,
enough.
that's a massive contract. Well, you'd probably end up taking back one of those contracts.
You'd probably get Hartenstein in a Kings uniform.
Yeah.
Hadn't heard anything about it, but I thought Memphis has made a lot of sense. Like, that Jaren is in my mind, ideal complementary piece with Domas.
Totally.
Yeah. No, I think that does make sense too.
And do they move Ja Morant? Oh,
Right.
Ja Morant in a Kings uniform.
I've heard
Yeah.
that.
Well, we definitely, that's been a rumor floating around here quite a bit.
He can come in here and do all the gun signs he wants, as long as the
Can he?
NBA won't let him. But no,
He's a maniac, dude.
that's crazy.
Well, he just lacks common sense. I mean, really.
Steph's face was the best part.
Yeah. Like,
And
the
to know that
entire-
Buddy
yeah.
had a hand in it was great, at least
Well,
initially.
yeah.
And then you get slapped on the wrist, say don't do that, and then he does it 2 more times. It's like, okay, $75,000 fine.
He shot
Yeah,
at me
so-
first.
He just
Yeah.
don't get it. He just doesn't get it. Yeah.
But not. Yeah. Then Buddy can't play Buddy healed the next game.
No.
If you're watching here on YouTube, we totally appreciate it. We are, of course, doing a live show today. You don't mind, hit thumbs up for us. That'd be really cool. Also, subscribe to the channel, so you can put at least 47 questions in the chat, like Alex has been doing. Shout out Alex for just like spamming the living hell out of us. Good for
Yeah,
you.
why not?
He has a lot to say.
But
okay.
in one word, I don't even know what is
A
ladder.
lot of Utah Jazz talk
Yeah.
going on from Alex.
Just Raptors beat Leafs. Ohtani #2. Like, what are we doing here? I don't even know what you're doing, Alex. That's a lot. That's a lot of
Stream of
comments.
consciousness. I support you, Alex. You do what you do.
There we
With
go.
your Danny Ainge comment and your Klingon Kessler duo huge.
Yeah.
Keep going.
What strange. Yeah,
Just
I'd also like from George Mueller.
Professional picture.
That's a handsome man.
That is a handsome guy. Good profile pic there, George. I don't know if you stole it from someone else or if it's you, but good for you. Yeah, you can't just snap your fingers and trade everybody for picks. And not only that, but like, I'm not sure that the Kings have more than like maybe 3 guys that you could get a first round pick for. Like, I think you can get multiple picks for Domas. I think you could probably get a first round pick for Malik Monk. And I think you can probably get a first round pick for Keegan Murray. Outside of that, I don't know what the hell you're getting picks for. Like, so I get this question all the time. NBA guru Zach, which I don't know if he's going to show up here or not, but he does end up, NBA guru Zach, who pops in the chat quite a bit and who's on the insiders chat all the time. Like, he just wants a blanket, like, hey, what exactly do you think we would get for Domas? What do you think you'd get for this player? What do you think we'd get for this player? What is the number? And I'm like, man, I don't know. It depends on, like, first of all, who
You're the
dealing
guru.
with. Yeah, it depends on what players you're taking back and what contracts you're taking back and how many picks that team has, and whether pick swaps are a possibility. There's too much to that. But at the end of the day, in order for the Kings to take a monstrous step backwards, they really only have to wait a year. Like, because if you just ran it back for next season, you gave Keegan Murray an extension this summer, you figure out a way to give Keon Ellis an extension this summer, the basketball would be bad. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be. You wouldn't have a first round pick. You wouldn't have a whole bunch of ways to like bring in more talent. But DeMar DeRozan's contract would be up in 1 year, and then you'd be looking at 1 year left of Zach LaVine at $49 million. And so, like, there's a way, like, 2 years from now, this team will look like completely different. There's a very good possibility of that. And I know, like, everybody wants to be super concerned about, like, the direction today, but you weren't super worried 2 years ago, and all of a sudden you are. So, like, these things have a way of turning themselves around pretty quickly.
I guess I just don't think they're going to do the stand pat thing. And I worry that we're going to still reach the timeline of 2 years where this still looks questionable after they essentially like triple down this offseason and try and combine some picks to go get a Kevin Durant or a Trae Young or John Morant or something, and then next like we're still going to be looking around and have the same problem. And maybe that trade ends up working itself out and they could definitely hit a home run there, and they have talent. It's just about optimizing it, like we said earlier, and making everything fit. But I just think it's a hard thing to figure out.
I mean, I know there's a lot of negativity right now, but it's like, I'm not this sky is falling type of person. Like, I think this can be turned around quite, with the right move or two. I don't think, look, for a team that's as lost as they are, they're not that far from being able to compete. And look,
For
they're
what?
not, well, not from a championship, but I'm saying at least for a steady playoff team. Look, I don't think it takes much. I think things can change very quickly. And yeah, they're pretty bad right now, and you just have to see it through. And that's my point. I think that pressure release is getting into the offseason. Somebody just asked me, I don't says Sean's here. He needs to answer the golden question, although I don't think it's a golden question. Does making the play-in even matter? Of course it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter at all. But see it through. It is what you are where you are. It gets in and you have a chance. You see it through, and that's what they're built to do. And I think that's going to still be part of the evaluation for players and coaches, is you see it through. And they're stumbling into it right now, and it's not good, but you see it through.
Yeah, let's get to that a little bit. With the win yesterday, the Kings actually moved within a half game of Dallas, the 9 spot. Dallas plays the Clippers a little bit later today, and it's possible that the Kings and Mavericks will be tied after that game. As of right now, Dallas has 4 games left on the schedule. The Kings have 5 games left, and Dallas will only have 3 games left after tonight, and the Kings will still have 5. So there's a possibility here of the Kings moving up, or at least tying and being in a virtual tie with Dallas for the 9 spot. And that just is who is going to be the home team in the 9-10 play-in game. The Kings have already been eliminated from the 8 spot, but the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, the 5, 6, 7, 8 in the Western Conference has gotten crazy. So Golden State is now the 5 spot at 46-31. We got Minnesota at 45-32, a game behind the Warriors. The Clippers are at 45-32, tied with the Timberwolves, and the Memphis Grizzlies have fallen all the way to number 8, and they're tied also at 45-32. So the 5, 6, 7, 8 spots are all separated by 1 game, and that it's crazy because I did not think Memphis was going to fall this far until they started doing wackadoodle stuff, and things have gone sideways. But then with the Kings, with the win yesterday, they moved a full 2 games up on Phoenix, and that's going to be an interesting one because Phoenix still has 5 games left like the Kings. They play each other in the final game of the season, and it could very well come down to that, whether the Kings make the play-in or not. Although the Suns have the Knicks, the Warriors, the Thunder, the Spurs, and the Kings left on their schedule, where the Kings have the Cavs,
Cavs, Pistons on the road.
Clippers.
And then it goes Nuggets, Clippers, Suns.
Nuggets, Clippers, Suns. So both of them have very difficult schedules to finish this season. I would say the only team that the Spurs have the Spurs are a guaranteed win, or look like a guaranteed win for the Suns. And the Kings don't really have one of those games left on their schedule outside of the last game.
Even if they did at this rate, I don't know. Can't call it a guarantee.
Well, that, and to add to the complicatedness of where we are, the Kings and Suns play on the final game of the year. If the Kings are a game up on the Suns at that point, and the Suns beat the Kings, the Suns skip over the Kings and advance to the play-in. They would tie with the same record. They would have the same conference record. Not the same. They would tie with the same record. They'd have a split 2-2 head-to-head matchup, but the next tiebreaker is divisional record, and the Kings' divisional record is ass. It's like
4-10 right now. Jeez.
4-10. There's no way for them to make it up. And I believe the Suns are 9-5. Yeah. So the Suns would actually make it if the two teams. Okay, this is complicated. If
I've
the
already
two
gone
teams
cross-eyed trying to keep up with
You're
all
always
this.
cross-eyed.
Yeah.
If the two teams tie on the last day with the Suns moving up and tying the Kings, then the Suns are in and the Kings are out. If somehow the Kings fall below the Suns and the Kings move up and tie the Suns on the last game of the season, the Kings would be in because that would give them a 3-1 season series win, and the Kings would advance and the Suns would be out. And then there's the Blazers. And if the Blazers win out and there's a 3-way tie, it would be the Kings in advance. It's all complicated. It's all a mess. But there's multiple scenarios here with 5 games left in the season.
I hope it comes down to that last game in Phoenix, just from an entertainment standpoint. And shoot, if we can get 3 single elimination games out of the end of this season, that game and 2 playing games, at very least, I think those would be fun.
There you go.
I mean, the play-in exists to be able to add meaningful basketball to these teams that are so far down and to help their fan bases root for something. So, yes, this is technically doing that, I think, although I think it's having an adverse effect here in Sacramento. But I think, there's been many people that keep pointing out, like, through all the years in Sacramento, record-wise, this would still be a upper echelon season. And
great.
That's
so. Does that matter?
It kind of does. I mean, I think it does. Look, it may mean you're getting too, tired of mediocrity, but and I can certainly understand that. But it is perspective.
Huh.
It makes me think of
we need that perspective, Sean.
They definitely have.
I'm here for your perspective.
It makes me think of like your competing thing that you said earlier, and I feel like you're kind of talking about like competing for that 3 to 8 group that we're talking about. You mentioned 5 to 8, James, being 1 game, even up to 3 with the Lakers. There's 2 games between 3 to 8 in the Western Conference right now, and that's the group that the Kings should be part of when it comes down to it. You should not be with this Dallas team that we all know what happened with their season, Phoenix that just totally shit the bed. But the reality is, obviously, so did you with the way this season went. I think the value of being in that group, though, is also having a vision of how you eventually, at least an idea of a possible way for you to climb above that as well. And that's where I struggle.
Here's how I would answer that, though. And again, like I say, it doesn't take much to get things turned around. Just look at the team that's right down the road, like in the Warriors. Like they were on death's doornail for
with
like
Steph Curry on their team.
Steph Curry, albeit I know, but look at where they were in terms of luxury tax, and they were capped. They couldn't do any moves. They would, getting everyone's like, oh, trade Kuminga, trade Moody, whatever. You had some young pieces that you could possibly do something with. I get all that, but at the end of the day, they were able to position themselves to trade for Jimmy Butler. And when Draymond Green made that statement saying that they're going to be in the NBA Finals, everyone scoffed at it. Anyone scoffing now? And how would you look at their team against one of the, elites in the NBA right now? I think they hold their own.
Would scoff at that comment from Draymond, but I would laugh hysterically if a Kings player said that right now, because you can see the world for the Warriors. They have the consistency.
But that being set aside with the Kings, I'm just using that as an example of how bleak it looked moments ago to that fan base. Okay. And how quickly things can change on a dime. And it happens. It's not like it's some like what they're doing right now is some like, oh, this never happens in the NBA. No, it does. Like this does happen. Maybe not at the, at a trade deadline with one move and that team being so up against the cap and all that kind of stuff with luxury tax and things like that. But last I checked, they still have those 2 young fellas on their roster, and it didn't take much. And here you are. And my point is, go ahead.
To Sean's point, the Kings were really good 2 years ago.
Right.
And
everyone thought that
they turned the other way.
they had leapfrogged the Warriors at that point. Like this was like, oh, your little brothers they're grown up now, and it's like, look how quickly that changed.
Well, yeah, but very specifically, the way that you're saying that the Warriors add one guy and they're in it, the
Right.
Kings added one guy and they're out of it.
They're out.
And then not only that, but they
added two.
They traded their best player and got even worse.
Yeah.
And so like the slippery slope here of how quickly franchises can like, like rise or fall. But the problem is that it's about I think where the Kings are like way behind is that like Oklahoma City has like a sustainability to them. They've built something that will be sustainable for years. And you're seeing teams behind the Kings, whether it's the Blazers who are trying to build something or, even the teams that are around them that are trying to build something. And it does not feel like the Kings are doing that. It does not feel like they are trying to throw a collection of players together and hope that it works. And in year one, heaven forbid it worked. Year two, it didn't work quite as well, and you still didn't go out and do anything about it. And then year three, the whole thing comes crashing down when you add one different ingredient that clearly has been like, I don't blame DeMar DeRozan for what's happened here. But what I do say is that it's also part of the problem in Sacramento that you added a player who did not fit at all. And you should have known that before you added him, but he does not fit at all. And we've seen that play out in like a dramatic fashion.
I don't think they're far from being a good team. I think that they're very far away from being a great team. And that's the harder step in the process. And I get that you have to reach one before you reach the next. But I think that there's teams that set themselves up to be a good team with really that ceiling. And that's what I feel like is going on here. And there's value in being that good team. And sure, you could make the right maneuver and somehow become a great one up there. But I feel like a lot of times for me, like the Denver year where they beat Minnesota, made the playoffs, that's great because there's more to grow on from that point. And you can see how they can continue to be better. For the Kings, it's like, great. I would love for them to be a good team again. I just feel like I struggle to see how the next step is going to be accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest question mark. And like, I think we know right now that there's a good chance that there's going to be someone else making the decisions on what's next. Like, I don't know that it's like decided yet. Maybe it is, but the Monty McNair era is hanging in the balance right now. And I don't know if a play-in win or 2 play-in wins and getting swept in the first round by OKC changes anything. But it sure doesn't feel like it should. And I mean, we don't know who's going to coach this team. We don't know who's going to be the GM of this team. Like, there's a lot to figure out here in the next, I would say, like 3 weeks. We're going to know so much of this, like what direction they might be heading. And it's going to get a little crazy, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the extent of like hearing GM candidate names, I think says a lot about where Monty's job security may be at this point. And yeah, I mean, maybe it's dependent on how this year ends. I honestly worry a lot about that. Like, they're going to get swept or gentlemen swept by OKC, but they're going to be up 2 games at halftime.
Can you explain?
Forever.
Can you explain gentlemen sweep?
It's just you let them win one. They win one game. It's not let them. You win one game. It's 4-1. Yes, one of your home games.
Gentleman sweep.
A gentleman sweep. So it's usually game 4. Mm-hmm. You're like, we'll let him live one more day.
We get to win.
Can I give you guys a scenario?
Let's hear it.
Again, this is a holy shit scenario that I'm not saying is going to happen, but I just want to dip a toe in this real quickly to gauge interest and see how this changes things.
I'm here for this.
Oh, are you?
You said toe dipping and all kinds of
dipping a
things.
toe into this scenario.
I'm here for it. What do we got?
Okay. And again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I don't even believe this would happen. I just want to know how it changes calculus. Kings get into the play-in tournament no matter what seed they're in. Okay. Mm-hmm. They advance into the playoffs and they take down whatever seed they play.
Oh, not whatever seed. It's the Thunder. It's the Thunder.
It's the Thunder. Okay, it's the Thunder.
Like, they're 0-3 against the Thunder this year. They're 3-0 against Houston,
right?
But they can't play.
So then what? Like, how do you feel?
Great, but that's not happening.
Okay, hold on. does it change how you feel about the roster going forward, the coaching staff going forward, the front office going forward?
Probably because I mean they figured something out if they're able to
And it's
beat the
one
team
series.
but you're beating the team that has the best point
I
differential
hear
in
you.
NBA
I hear
history.
you.
Like
I hear you. I hear you. To me,
Okay, so
it wouldn't change it very much.
I don't know what.
I think it's what's called lightning in a bottle. Like that's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I don't know what to think right now of Doug. Like he's had some good moments. He's had some bad moments here, but I'd also say, like, if you guys have ever played solitaire, right, with a 52 card deck, have you ever tried to play solitaire with 51
Oh,
cards?
these analogies, bro.
I'm just saying, have you
Come
ever tried
on.
when there's one card missing? Because you can't actually ever win. And that's what it feels like. It feels like
Well,
they're playing without a full deck.
sure, and that almost makes them sound like there's some like a screw loose up top, if you know what I mean.
Well, the team has a screw loose. Like the franchise has a screw loose, for sure,
I'm
without
talking up
any
here.
question.
I'm talking up here.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that that's a feasible scenario. Whether not necessarily feasible, but think about in recent memory. Yes, the Lakers were a play-in tournament. They went to the NBA Finals, so it's not as if, you know.
again, Sean, they have LeBron James on their team.
Okay,
These are horrible examples, Sean.
I'm not
Miami
saying
Heat. The Miami Heat were an 8 seed.
The Bucks figured it out.
Do not forget my preface when I said I don't think this is happening. All I'm asking about is, would it change your mindset? Would it change what you think? Because I don't think that it should, is my point. If the Kings were to do that, okay, I'm saying just take down the first seed, which would, of course, in this scenario is the Thunder. I'm not saying that they're going to be like the Lakers and go to the finals. I'm not painting that picture at all. I'm just saying taking down the first seed, taking down that first round matchup. Would that change your calculus in the way you think about this team currently and the direction they've chosen to go? Because to me, it would not.
I just think it has to, because that, in my mind, means that they balled out, that they figured something out.
Well, they can ball again. Anyone can ball out for a series. Anyone can do
But
like that. Again, it's not a.
I don't think you just happen to ball out well enough for 4 of 7 games against OKC.
Right.
Okay, but I know, again, we have all these like scenarios that have played out. Okay, so we do have the Miami Heat were the 8 seed and made it to the finals, right? We also have like a really bad Phoenix Suns team that was horrible the entire year. Then they got to an 8-game bubble and were really good.
I think you're glomming onto the wrong portion of it. I'm not saying this is happening. I'm saying, should it happen, would it change your calculus on how you are viewing this team in this current moment? And my argument is it should not. That's the whole thing I'm saying. I'm setting the table to say it should not.
Yeah.
Brenden fell into the trap.
I agree with your larger point. But like I was saying, if they are like writing that, oh my God, we were up at halftime for 2 of these games against the Thunder and lost a series. Like, no, it does not matter essentially what happens in that series. But that's also me assuming there's 0 chance they win this. But I think I agree with your larger
about
point.
0, but yeah,
there's always a chance.
Right, there is.
I mean, Shea could take a bad step, roll his ankle, and miss
tomorrow
the series, and next thing you know, like, that team is built on, a great team, but also one star scorer. And if you take that player out, I don't know how. I mean, they'd probably still thump the Kings no matter what. But either way, it would not change my thinking, Sean.
See, and I think when people think of evaluation and they think of it in terms of wins and losses, and it's not always that case. Like there's a lot of evaluation, in my opinion, that's going to happen over this last week of the regular season and whatever happens after that. My point is, I think you've already come to a conclusion on a lot of things where I still feel there's evaluation can help, support theories or whatever conclusions that are made. But at the end of the day, I think you already kind of have you already know what this team is, and it's not good. Okay. Where you go from here is who stays, who goes, who do you want a part of your future? Who do you not want part of your future? Like those are all unanswered questions. And a lot of them are already, they're on their team. You have to figure out who's going to be here. And those are going to be some tough conversations and decisions that are made. But that's why I think it's the pressure relief is literally getting into the offseason for this team.
No, I'm with you, Sean. Like this offseason, like day one, you have to hit the ground running because you need to figure out who's going to be making the decisions for this team. And if it's the same guy that's been making the decisions the last couple of years, who's going to be there to help him? And so you're going to need to hire somebody else just to get the ball rolling here. I think that there are so many decisions that are like very, very important decisions, whether, again, it's do you opt out of Keon Ellis's contract and then sign him as a restricted free agent to a long-term deal? Do you sign Keegan Murray to whatever type of deal that you can get with him? Like there are like way too many things that are happening. But again, I'd point out to Kings fans that are like, oh, of course you're going to sign Keon. Of course you're going to go, retain Keegan Murray. I'll just point out that the guys that drafted or found Keon Ellis as an undrafted free agent might all be gone on by tax day, by April 15th. And so there is no foregone conclusion that these guys will be back. There is no guarantee that someone is going to value who's coming in off the street is going to value Keegan Murray in the same way that someone else did, or that they'll value Keon Ellis in the same way that the previous group did. And so I think it's going to be really interesting. I think there are so many things that are up for grabs this offseason. Not just front office, head coach, coaching staff, front office staff, all that stuff. It every single player has to be looked at in a very specific way. And are you part of what we're building? Or are you not part of what we're building? And if again, if Domantas Sabonis is what you're building around, how do you keep him happy and build the team around him? And can you actually do that? Or are you just doing a fool's errand this offseason and, midway through next season, you're going to deal with him saying, hey, I want out. I want out now. So this is a extremely important moment. And that's why I'll just go back to the same thing I've been saying the whole time. The fact that you made people that you're not sure are going to be here 2 days after the season, you allowed them to pull off one of the biggest trades in your franchise history and trade away your best player. What in the world? And that's why I will tell you, the idea was not to lose the last half of the season. And again, it's like chasing windmills here. What are we doing? If you didn't know that swapping out your best player and switching up half the roster at the deadline was going to end up being, and all of that with a brand new head coach who's never coached before, you didn't think that was going to be a detrimental thing to the team. I don't know what you were thinking.
I unfortunately have had that last thought too many times over the last handful of years of, not quite understanding what they're thinking. More often than not, honestly, I'm trying to pitch, even if I disagree with their logic, what I think their logic is. And this year, more than ever, I think it's been hard to see that. I feel like there's been moments where they felt backed into a corner with some of the De'Aaron stuff specifically, but yeah, I mean, to an extent what you're signing up for, and you got to try to figure out what your new core is. If that is Domas and that's what you want to build around, honestly, early returns right now, it doesn't really look like Zach is somebody that does that. I think it'd be very reasonable if their conclusion was, well, it's too early to call that. But if that ended up being the case, Zach's not a very easy contract to move off of. We just saw Chicago struggle to do that for years, and the Kings willingly went and chose to get Zach LaVine as their primary piece with some decent draft capital when they're trading off their best player. So yeah, I think they put themselves in a weird scenario where I think they're going to try to triple down this offseason and try to rework the top of this roster. And either you're going to hit a home run or this is going to be real tough in a couple of years.
Yep. All right, let's get to the business of basketball.
Boo, 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 boo.
Hey, look at that. We got sound effects. There it is. Let's just how's it going to end? What's your prediction? We got 5 games left.
That's your business of basketball.
You did
not come prepared at all. You had
me?
something. Yes.
No.
You're I got to scramble.
No, we got 5 games left. Are they going to be a play-in team? Are they going to win the first play-in game? Are they going to lose the second play-in game?
James, do you have any idea how this is going to end? I mean, Jesus Christ, this is
no. I just want to know what you think.
Why he's asking you,
Sean?
You
think it's going to end?
I see.
I will give my. You want me to start?
It's called
yes. Go ahead. Yeah, you
Sean.
go first.
Okay. I think that they are going to sneak in as the 9 seed. I think they'll host the first play-in game, and I think they'll win the first play-in game, and I think that they'll lose the second play-in game.
Okay, that's sweet. Back up real quick.
against
How
Dallas.
many of the 5 games they have remaining? How many of them are they winning?
2.
Do you have an idea of who those are? You say the last 2, the first 2?
I think that they will beat the Suns, and I think they'll sneak a win again, whether it's the Cavs or it's or
The
it's
Cavs.
Denver or the Clippers. I think they can beat the Clippers.
Okay, so they've got a back-to-back with Cavs and Pistons to round out the road trip.
Oh, I forgot about Pistons. They could
Yeah.
beat the Pistons.
So the second night of back-to-back, the final game of a 6-game road trip, they're beating the Pistons. They did that last time, actually. Now that I think of it, that was the long road trip, right? Wasn't that the? Let me see. The Minnesota game
home.
they ended.
They flew home to play the Cavs.
They had a 6-game road trip with the Timberwolves, and they ended up winning that final game after the loss to Oklahoma City. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Stephen Brown just making random comments about someone in the chat looking like they have really good credit. I don't know.
Huh.
Just random. Sorry.
That's very strange. Okay. So you say that they're going to go 2-3 over the next 5, and they're going to be the 9th seed,
Yep.
and they're going to win their first game, you said?
Because you got to remember, Dallas is probably going to lose to the Clippers tonight. If they do lose to the Clippers tonight, they'll be in a virtual tie, but Dallas only has 3 games left. The Kings have 5.
Okay. So, okay. And you're saying that they're going to beat Dallas then in the play-in tournament, yeah? Because they're going to be the 10, and the Suns are going to stay out.
Yep. Suns will miss.
And then so the Kings will then go on to play the winner of 7 and 8, who you think will be the Grizzlies? Clippers?
Probably going to be the Grizzlies. Yeah, so the Mavs have the Lakers, the Raptors, and the Grizzlies. So they've got one like very, very winnable game.
Boy, they've been free falling.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies have just been free falling. And then you think they're beating that game or they're falling?
I think they'll go 2-1, and I think that they'll go 1-2. Dallas will go 1-2 to finish the season. Well, I think they'll go 1-3. I think they'll lose tonight, and then they'll go 1-3 in their final, 1-2 in their final 3.
Okay.
And the Kings have the tiebreaker against them. I think they'll probably tie with the same record or be right there with each other.
So they lose in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, again, if they're playing Memphis, I think there is a possibility they beat Memphis. Memphis is on a slide.
I'll play your silly game. I was going to hold this off for next week because I was more of looking at just how I think these final 5 will play out, and I think that's about as murky as anything. I don't think that they'll go 0-5, but I think they're going to come close to it. I think they're going to be 1-5 to end this 1-5. Excuse me. I think they're going to go 1-4 over the next 5. And if there's a game to be had there, they might be able to snag the Clipper game right there. I'm not confident that they will, though. But to me, I think they might end the final. I think that their only win will come against the Suns.
Okay, so you think that they're going to be out?
I think that they go 1-4, and I don't. Yeah, whatever happens around them, I'm not so sure. But I don't love their chances in this next 5 games.
Okay. And I can tell you what the Suns' schedule is too, just so
it's steep, fair. Right? Like I saw they just had the Celtics. It was probably the hardest of the remaining 7 games.
It's been the most difficult. So they have the Knicks, the Warriors, the Thunder. They get the Knicks tomorrow, and Brunson's back. So Knicks, Warriors, Thunder. They've got the Spurs and finish with the Kings.
It's just hard to gauge right now, like which teams are going to not care in these last few games, standing wise, like who's going to be locked into certain seedings and stuff with that. But like Kings Pacific, I also think 1-4. Before this Charlotte game, they had lost 11 of their last 14 games.
Correct.
Like I think, yes,
yep.
I thought they were in a total nosedive in that Washington game, again, being the peak of it. I'm not convinced that a Charlotte win knocks you out of that. So I think 1-4, and either the LA or Phoenix game that they'll end up taking.
Can I also give you another little one here, just to keep in mind? You have the first game back from the road trip is going to be Wednesday against the Nuggets. The Nuggets play tonight against the Pacers, and then they don't play again until that game.
Yeah, they're going to run the Kings over. Well, the Kings play tomorrow at like 2:00.
They play twice before that, so they're going to play Sunday, Monday, and their early games.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's
so
amazing
I think,
how some teams get a 6-game road trip in the last 2 weeks of the season, and others
stop
get
it.
like
You
get a
conspiracy
3-day
theory.
off.
No, stop it. I'm not going to let you get away with that. They had a home heavy schedule that they did not take advantage of.
Oh
in
no,
the
they
early
did
part of
not.
the season.
Yeah,
So let's not. Yeah.
No,
So
they blew their chances. Like the way they handled the first half of the season was just disaster.
Well, and
they haven't
Brenden and
been
I
good in the second half.
we didn't get quite as far as you did, but I think we should stop there because let's see what happens in this coming week. Because if Brenden and I are thinking that they're winning once over the next 5 games, we probably don't have a very high feeling that they're going to advance very far in the play-in game either. So, if they were to advance that far,
I would not bet on them winning 2 play-in games, but I mean, look at March Madness. I think single elimination basketball is about as unpredictable as it gets. And you still have DeMar DeRozan specifically on this team that I think could go ridiculously. And you could say the same thing for a couple guys. So anything can happen in those games, but I'd be shocked if they won 2.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna have to see how it plays out. This team has a propensity to jump up and beat somebody when you don't expect them to, like the Cavs, or like the Pistons, or the Clippers. I think they can beat any of them. They could also lose all of these games and finish with 37 wins. And in that case, they're probably going to be the 10th or 11th spot in the draft lottery.
So tune into the Final Four.
There we go. Okay, let's do final thoughts. What do you guys got for final thoughts?
I've been enjoying baseball season. I'm glad the A's are out here. I have, actually.
It was freezing out there.
It was. I was cold
bundled up. Oh my!
I'm more so excited for the future. Also, I need some color in my life, so being able to be outside at these games is nice. Total change of pace. So I'm excited for that. I will also add, I've been playing a lot of MLB The Show, and if anybody out there wants to play some games, hit me up. That's my game right now. I'm super locked in.
What's wrong with you? Grow
and
up.
now I'm like randomly going to be excited when Jordan comes into town because I just mashed with his card in the show.
His card?
His card, yeah. You're like building a team.
Whose card do you?
Jordan. Jordan is my guy.
Oh, okay. All right. Sean, what do you got for final thoughts that are not the show related, clearly?
Yeah, not much. I'm still very, 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 very happy. I think things are going great. And
okay.
No, someone had asked me.
Very happy.
No, because someone had asked me the other day, like, "Oh, so I was like, no, it's like it was. I'm still feeling great. Like everything's really. Things are. I think people in the YouTube chat like to think that I was in like high or something. I wasn't. I don't. I don't do that. Unlike our guy Brenden over there. But I'm really looking forward to the Final Four.
You're gonna be watching by yourself.
Duke team. I know I'm biased. This Duke team is very, very fun, but I think you got a really good collection. I think this never happens, but you have a really solid collection of just any one of these teams I feel can win the championship. Typically, I've gotten to a Final Four and thought maybe 2 could win a championship. This just feels like it ended up the right way, even though my bracket was very mediocre. This is, I think, going to be a fun weekend.
All right.
Even if Duke loses, I think I'm going to enjoy the Final Four and just the championship game coming up.
Yeah, I'm super excited to watch some of the basketball today, and then what did we got Monday night, right? So
yeah,
I think it's going to be a really good finish here. Duke has 3 top 9 guys, like super. I mean, it's not just Cooper Flagg. They've got 2 other dudes that are considered top 10 picks, like absolutely spectacular. Outside of that, get outside. I think that's my final thought for the day. Get outside. Stephen Brown, don't be a creeper in the chat. But I'm just like watching the chat go by. Don't be a creeper in the chat. But outside of that, like go out, enjoy the sunshine. Like I just did a walk with the wife. We got in like 4 miles right before the podcast. Probably won't be able to stand up after sitting here for an hour and 15 minutes, but we'll see. Didn't have time to stretch after the walk, but
didn't ask.
Like enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the warm weather, And like, look, we're getting super close to the end of this season. The post-mortem on this season and what happens next is going to be like wild and crazy, and who knows what happens. So like, hold on to your hats. It's going to be crazy. I mean, I'd say crazy 10, 15 days. Like, we're talking about like 2 weeks of chaos that's coming, maybe 3 weeks of all kinds of like wild, I can't believe that just happened. And we'll figure it all out. Cool. Thanks for tuning into the Kings Beat podcast. Of course, we did a live show here. We're, of course, the Blue Wire podcast brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. If you're interested in Underdog, jump on board. Use the code word Kings Beat. That helps you get cool stuff, free stuff, matching stuff, all that. I think that's going to do it. So for Box 40s, Sean Cunningham and Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast, I'm James Ham, Kings Insider for ESPN 13 in the Kings Beat, 1320 in the Kings Beat. I'll see you soon.